Hey guys, so this is going to be part 2 of Bub's autism video. And if you watched part 1, which if you didn't watch part 1, go back and watch part 1 because we're continuing, so you're going to want to see the beginning and his beginning of his autism story before. But a little synopsis, I went over kind of how we found out, when he got diagnosed, all the way up until currently, and just kind of where we're at with his feeding, which is a big issue. So let's get right into it with the second part of this video. So, besides feeding, I think the other thing that I would change for him to make everybody's lives, his and ours, better and easier would be communication. Currently, Bub is almost 3.5 and he is nonverbal. I don't know if he's ever going to be verbal. Nobody really knows. He's very smart, so we're hoping that with more therapy and doing more of what we are doing, there will be some, words. For a while, communication was a cause of stress for him and the struggle. He, the only way he could tell us what he wanted was to pull our, hand, make us try and get us to get up. But then from there, it was a guessing game. Do you want this? Do you want this? Is this what you want? And it was a lot of stress and frustration for him. He has never, there are kids that, regress, and there are kids that do talk and then, stop. Or start off by saying, they say, 20 words and then they go down to 10 and then 5 and then none. Bob never said any words. He's go is really the only word that he'll say, and usually it's, ready, set. Well, not ready. It's more like go. So set, go is kind of the only word or phrase that he'll say. He knows his letter sounds. I'll get into that though. So right now, probably 2 months ago, we started something called a communication device. Because he's nonverbal, speech is, a big thing for me. So I try to get from any outlet and go to, as many speech therapists as I can get him. So we started going to a therapy center, and he goes there on Mondays and Thursdays. And, right from off the bat almost, the speech therapist, we started there in December, but because of the holidays, we really didn't start doing much until January. And right off the bat, she wanted to start him on his communication device, or getting him, used to a possible communication device. And so there are different apps you can try. He's really into the iPad, tablets, things like that. So we can't use devices or apps that are on iPads. He would rather play on them. He won't use them for what they're for. And if you try to lock the screen on that specific app, he knows that there are other things on iPads. He knows that there are games on there. It's not worth the hassle. So this is what he uses currently. And it's hard to see. There we go. So it's just this little tablet looking device, and he taps this, and then if he taps that,
milk,
it says milk. And that's, he started using that, like I said, we started that in January, and then we actually, about 2 months ago, filed through the state. There's like a lending library for medical device things, and we went through the state to borrow this one, and he's soared with it. It's amazing how quickly he caught on. He really didn't show interest too much at therapy, but he needs some form of communication, and he knows what it's for. If he wants to talk to me or needs something, sometimes he'll pull my hand, but most of the time grabs the device, brings it over, and just hits the buttons. And he's starting to form sentences. So the button's on here. He has his drinks, he has his devices, yes, no, just basic words that, will help him, just communicate his needs, you know, it's hard to do this sideways, but like,
I want milk.
so like he can say with, you know, his words, like what he wants, what he, you know, wants from me, and he's really good about it, and he asks very nicely, or I guess pushes his buttons, and he looks at me and he knows that I know what he's saying. And that's the biggest thing, is he knows that I know what he wants now. And his receptive communication has gotten way stronger. A, I think because he's getting older, and B, just, you know, he has this device that has words, and those are words he uses on a regular basis, and he now knows what certain things mean. So communication wise, it's way more improved. His frustration level has gone down. You know, this device has helped him in so many ways. So this is a loaner, and the therapist has to goes through paperwork and basically makes a case to send to the insurance company as to why he should have his own. The insurance company will cover it, and it's like basically, you know, you have one, it's 7 years. They cover it for 7 years, so you'll get one for, you know, that needs to last you at least 7 years. This device right here, there's different sizes. This screen is the 8-inch screen. This costs $6,100. The one that we are applying for is a 10-inch screen, and that costs about $8,000. When he gets his own, I will have to take an insurance policy out on it to cover it for lost, stolen, damage, things like that. Now, there is a warranty attached to it, but this device right here currently costs more than my car. There is less money owed on my car than there is on that costs for this device. It's very expensive, and so obviously, you know, the insurance has to approve it, and they have to see if it's, you know, he's definitely going to get approved. He, you know, the trial on it and him using it has showed how great he is on it. So yeah, communication, I would definitely change. If I could make him verbal or somewhat verbal, I kind of wish I could, in a way. It's hard. I wouldn't, you know, change his autism. Like I was saying in the first video, I don't think I would. It makes him him. It makes him unique. He's very quirky and funny and goofy and silly, and he does silly things, and a lot of it, you know, is, you know, contributed to his autism, and it's a struggle. You know, this morning he cried most of the morning for no reason, or for no known reason to us, but he has emotional up and downs. He can't console himself. You know, sometimes he'll wake up from a nap, which he's kind of out of naps, you know, at this stage. Sometimes I think he needs them, but he's, you know, kind of out of naps. But, you know, he would wake up from naps some days and cry for an hour straight. Nothing would console him. Not milk, not his, you know, tablets, nothing. And he doesn't want you to touch him. He doesn't want anything. You just have to let him cry it out. But then he gets high highs where he is super, you know, sensory. You know, there's a lot of sensory things going on. He's heightened sensory. You know, you touch him, like to change his diaper, and he is cracking up. He thinks it's, you know, he's all of a sudden extra ticklish, and he's so hyper that he's not focused on what he needs to do or focused on anything, and he's kind of like everywhere, and to rein it in is almost impossible. So we have our challenges with that, because, you know, it's great and he's in a good mood, but he's in too good of a mood sometimes that, like, we can't get him to focus on what he's doing. Another thing that is an issue for us, that is another thing I would change, or, you know, to make our lives easier, is his sleeping. You know, 3.5, and he doesn't sleep through the night. He has days where he sleeps through the night, but I can't confidently say, oh yeah, he sleeps through the night. You know, Addie was 3 months old when she slept through the night, and the only time she woke up is, you know, a storm, you know, thunder, whatever, or a bad dream, but not, you know, he sleeps through the night maybe half the week, He actually is on medication. I was iffy about putting him on medication, but when he has routine changes, it messes up everything. Sometimes, it messes up his feeding, sometimes it messes up his sleep, sometimes it messes up his mood. Well, him turning 3, and, he turned 3, and then Christmas break happened, so his sister was home a lot every day, and, therapy was on Christmas break, so he didn't have things going on at home, plus sister was home. And then, we come back to school in January, everything goes back in. Not only did he have no therapy, but now he has brand new therapists he's really never met before. He met him once, but to him that's nothing. New therapist to work with, new things to do, new places, sister's back in school. So from January till, I would say, end of February, mid-February, he was getting up every single night. Some nights he wasn't going to bed until almost 2, and he would wake up on the dot almost every night, 4 hours from the time he fell asleep. And then he would be up for like 2 hours, and he would be crying, and he didn't want to be awake, but his body woke him up. It was awful. We tried melatonin, which was something he was on for sleeping about a year ago. It wasn't strong enough. It just wasn't working, and for him, he has to take liquid form of medicine or powder form of medicine, and it has to be put into a drink, mostly his milk. So I can't give him just a medicine cup with melatonin in it. Absolutely not. So it's getting diluted in the milk, and there's only so much I can put in it before he would notice the taste. So it's a give and take, and it just wasn't working. So we contacted we contacted his doctor, who gave a recommendation. First said to call his neurologist. So we called his neurologist. They recommended to put him on a medicine called clonidine, which is for high blood pressure, which kind of worried me. So we contacted his pediatrician. I contacted the pharmacy. Basically, I talked to everybody I could to confirm that, okay, this is okay. I trust my neurologist, but I want other opinions. And because I love my pediatrician, and he's an awesome person, and he knows, personally, as, a parent and a doctor, I wanted his opinion if, it was something he could confidently be okay with his patient being on. So first it was a quarter tablet, which once you crushed it up into powder, which they said, crush it up into powder, put it on a spoonful of ice cream, a spoonful of yogurt. I said, yeah, that's not going to work. It has to go in his milk. So the first dose was a quarter tablet, which the powder amount was minuscule. And the problem was, in order for him to get the full effect of the medicine, I could only give him that much milk. Now to him, I'm handing him that much milk, and he's like, no, this isn't full. You're giving me an empty bottle. So the struggle was getting him to drink that and then to give him more. And it was also not strong enough. It was putting him to sleep pretty well, but it was not keeping him asleep, and that was the issue. I'm not a late night person, but I would rather stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning and him sleep through the night than go to bed at midnight but have him wake up 2 hours later because the medicine wore off. So we raised it, and currently we are on a half tablet of the medicine, and it puts him to sleep at a decent time. He's never an early to bed kid in his entire life, so him going to bed by midnight or earlier is perfect. And he sleeps in there for the most part. Medicine is not going to work every single time. There's no medicine that we can give him that's going to make him sleep through the night guaranteed every single night. But he's getting more sleep and more days a week, which is what we basically want. So sleeping through the night is not something he does. So that's a struggle. He can't put himself to sleep naturally. We can't put him in his bed awake and have him fall asleep. He has to either fall asleep with us, in bed, or fall asleep in the living room. He still sleeps in a crib right here next to my bed. He, knock on wood, does not try to climb out of it. His sister was climbing out of her bed at maybe 18 months, and maybe even sooner, and she was, switched to a toddler bed. He's not trying to climb out of it, and basically we feel as long as he's not trying to get out of it, keep him in his crib as long as he fits, because he doesn't understand you have to stay in your bed. So I'll have to tie like a bell to him or something because he'll wake up and start getting into stuff. So we're not comfortable with him not being in a crib. We're fine with him being in a crib. You know, there are certain things that he's technically, for a 3-year-old, 3.5-year-old, is grown out of and probably should not be doing. You know, this is his milk cup. It kind of looks like a bottle. There's nothing I can do. The other nipple for that is more of a sippy cup, but still, he doesn't drink from regular cups. He probably, like, at his age should be, but he's not at his age. He's 3.5, but he's really not. Mentally and developmentally, he's not. Like, he still has a binky, and I'm sure there are people who don't think he should have a binky. I'm sure his dentist, he's only seen the dentist once. He barely lets me brush his teeth. That's another thing. His oral sensory issues, we barely get his teeth brushed, and I'm sure the dentist I'm sure has an opinion, but at the same time, like, we try and we do our best, and I know the dentist understands that because there's only so much, you know, you can do for kids, you know, who are struggling. But the binky is not something we're planning on getting rid of anytime soon. He doesn't use it all day, but he does use it for sleeping, and he does have one, and I'm gonna pick my battles. And he doesn't understand why he couldn't have a binky. He doesn't have that mentality to understand the concept of you're getting too old for a binky. To me, he's still a baby. You know, I see other kids his age. I see, you know, friends who have kids his age, and they look so much older because mentally they are, you know. He still needs to be watched 24/7. He can't be left, you know, you can't send him off to play by himself. He plays by himself. He doesn't like playing with other kids, but he isn't to be trusted. So he's really not 3.5. Age-wise, yes. Everything else, really, no. So, you know, he still has the bottle type, you know, cups. He still has a binky. He's still in diapers. We actually get diapers through the state because he's, you know, over the normal age of diapers, and his medical assistance insurance covers diapers. So he gets free diapers through the state because he's older and still needs them for incontinence. Potty training is not anywhere near in the future. I don't even know when that will happen. He knows sometimes when he uses the bathroom. If he goes number 1, he kind of knows, and he'll like grab his diaper. Number 2, he'll continue about his business afterwards. He kind of doesn't care. He's terrified to sit on the toilet, so I don't push it. And he can't tell me if he has to go. I don't know if he knows when he has to go. I mean, besides number 2, I don't think he knows when he has to go. So there's really no way to potty train him at this point. And it's fine. I mean, again, I'm so used to his life that even though, you know, he may be in diapers for another 2 years, I'm kind of just like used to the normalcy of how his life is. But there are things he's amazing at that he's, you know, kind of better at for his age than most kids. He knows the order of the alphabet. He knows, you know, you can give him any letter and he knows what comes next. His writing strokes to write each letter are more advanced than normal kids, you know, normal 3-year-olds. I homeschool preschool daddy, and at 3 we started working on the alphabet, and it took her a long time to know the sounds and, you know, recognize uppercase and lowercase. He knows. He air traces letters, you know, and all the time if you say a letter or something, he is sitting there air tracing letters. You know, you write a letter, he knows what comes next. If he writes a letter and then the next letter is missing, he knows what comes next. You know, the other day I said, oh, write a P, and he didn't, so I wrote the P, and he proceeded with Q, R, S, and T on his own. And they're not legible enough that you know exactly what they are. Numbers, he knows there are numbers that go up to 100. He likes when you recite them to him. He's not interested. I think he's going to be an early reader. If he becomes verbal, I think he's going to be an early reader. Even if he's not verbal, I think he's still going to learn how to read early. He's very good at problem solving. You show him how to do something once or twice and he knows how to do it. No problems. Which makes sometimes he gets frustrated because he knows how things are supposed to be done, and if it doesn't work or it's broken or he does it correctly but not exactly right, he gets very frustrated very easily. Doesn't really play with too many toys. He has, right now his current obsession is trains. He'll sit for hours and hours, which for him is very amazing. He would never sit and do anything for more than a few minutes unless it was, the tablet or something. But he'll sit and play with trains. That's his thing right now. And anytime I can get him trains, anytime I see trains or, they're on sale or anything, I get them because I love that he has something he's interested in. He likes cars. He plays with his Hot Wheels, but trains all of a sudden are a big thing for him. But toys are hard to buy for him. He doesn't care about many toys. That's why, now that he's into Thomas the Train, it's awesome because I can actually buy him real toys. He likes cups and containers and bins and putting things in things and taking them out of things. He likes puzzles, but he's also picky. He doesn't play with typical toys, so most of his toys I get at consignment sales because they're just not worth paying full price. I do get him regular full price toys. If it's something I know he'll play with because he's played with it before, I'll get it. But usually it's consignment, secondhand. I love secondhand stores for him. Like I said in the first video, he gets therapy every day. Our goal for hopefully this year is to send him to a preschool. It's going to be a special needs preschool. There's only a few kids in the class. That's our goal, is to get him into the school environment. He definitely would have his communication device, so basically as long as he succeeds at knowing how to communicate with that, we're confident to send him to school. And then he'll get some of his therapies at the school. We go swimming. He pretty much taught himself how to swim, which is amazing. So we kind of keep busy. He has, a routine, kind of, but I try to keep busy. He knows he has something he does every day, and then usually Sundays are our chill days. He doesn't know what days of the week are what, obviously, but we're usually out of the house most of the week. So if we sit inside too many days, he starts to get pretty antsy. Medically, besides autism, he really, and sensory issues which correlate with the autism, he really doesn't have anything else, going on with him. He's healthy otherwise. He's had an MRI. He's had an EEG. He's had blood taken a few times. So an MRI he was put to sleep for, which was hard. It was hard for me. That was to test if there was seizure. The MRI was to test to see if he had any seizure activity because the EEG showed nothing. It was an overnight EEG. He had to have all these things on his head, and then his head wrapped with a Band-Aid, and we stayed overnight, and he looked like an avatar. He had this tube coming out of his head with and the battery pack was attached to it, and it was in a backpack, and he walked around with a backpack all night. It was hard for him. He's afraid of doctors, dentists, any medical person. He's afraid of them, and totally understandable. He's had to do some pretty crazy things for being such, a little kid, but he's pretty good with it. It's a rough time at the moment, but after it's over, he's okay. Hopefully he doesn't have too many memories and he, gets past this fear of being at the doctor and doing anything medical. But luckily, his autism is just a part of him, and he's healthy, and just kind of is what makes him unique. So, I would rather him have autism than, any kind of terrible diseases, anything like that. And the people who, I'm not going to make this all about vaccines, but I'm just going to say, let me reword this. So we're lucky that he's healthy otherwise. I mean, autism is not, deadly, and he's not, nothing, it's not going to kill him or anything. And I don't believe he got his autism from vaccines. And I'm not going to make this into, anti or pro-vaccination video, but even if it did cause his autism, which again, I don't believe it did, even if it did though, I would 150% rather vaccinate my kid to keep them from getting measles, whooping cough, all of those things. I would rather vaccinate for that and have him get autism than have him get one of these diseases that could kill him. So he got vaccinated. He still continues to get vaccinated. He will continue to get vaccinated because I don't believe it causes autism. And at this point, even if it did, which again, I don't think it did, even if it did though, why stop giving him vaccines now? I mean, he has autism. I think he had autism somehow he just turned on my TV with my phone. Because you turned on the ABC app. And I vaccinated my daughter. I was vaccinated, we were all vaccinated. I just think it was, how he was born. I honestly believe, I had issues when I was pregnant with him. I had to take steroids when I was pregnant with him towards the end, and I truly believe that is what caused something to go on. But even if that's not the case, he is who he is, and whether you believe vaccines cause autism or, you're born with it or this, that, or the other, it's not a scary thing. It's hard and it's a struggle, but he's an awesome kid. It's part of why I named the channel Living in Awesome Chaos, because every day we live in awesome chaos. Just because, he's the only one in the family with autism. His autism, affects everybody. And we live in his chaotic world. And he causes chaos. And so does his sister. And his sister is completely, neurotypical of a child. And she causes chaos. So it's what we live in. We live in awesome chaos. So I think that's all for this autism video. I'm sure there's so much more I could talk about, but I can't think of anything specific. But if you have any specific questions, or there's topics, that you want me to talk about, or more, about his feeding, or more, even his daily routine or anything like that, you can let me know. But yes, this is part 2 of his autism video. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.